Augustus, born Gaius Octavius in 63 BC, began his life not as a destined emperor, but as a member of a wealthy equestrian family from the provinces. His family, though prosperous, was not part of the old Roman aristocracy, the patrician class that had dominated the Republic for centuries. The young Octavius was a studious and ambitious boy, traits that were recognized early on by his great-uncle, the most powerful man in Rome, Julius Caesar. Caesar, having no legitimate sons of his own, saw potential in his grandnephew, taking him under his wing and beginning to groom him for a future in Roman politics. This informal tutelage became official in 44 BC, when Caesar, in his will, posthumously adopted Octavius and named him his primary heir. Stepping into this maelstrom was the newly named Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus, or Octavian, a young man of 18 with a legendary name but no political or military experience. He was underestimated by all, seen as a mere boy playing at being a Caesar. His rivals, principally Mark Antony, Caesar's trusted lieutenant, and the conspirators led by Brutus and Cassius, saw him as a pawn to be manipulated or easily swept aside. But Octavian possessed a cunning and ruthlessness that belied his years. He skillfully used his inheritance, the name of Caesar, to rally the late dictator's veterans and the Roman plebeians to his side. He played his political cards with masterful precision, first aligning with the Senate against Antony, then betraying them to form an uneasy alliance with Antony and another Caesarian general, Lepidus. This pact, known as the Second Triumvirate, are sealed in blood, initiating a brutal series of proscriptions that eliminated thousands of political opponents in Rome. With their enemies in Italy crushed, the triumvirs turned their attention to the assassins of Caesar, Brutus, and Cassius, who had amassed a large army in the east. The decisive confrontation came at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BC, where the forces of the triumvirate, primarily commanded by Antony, achieved a complete victory. Brutus and Cassius, seeing their cause for restoring the Republic lost, both committed suicide. With the assassins defeated, the fragile alliance of the triumvirs began to fray. Lepidus was quickly sidelined, leaving the Roman world divided between two masters, Octavian in the west and Antony in the east. Antony, who had taken control of the wealthy eastern provinces, established his base in Alexandria and fell into a famous love affair with the Egyptian queen, Cleopatra. While Antony enjoyed the splendors of the east, Octavian consolidated his power in Italy and the western provinces, presenting himself as the champion of traditional Roman values. He waged a brilliant propaganda war against Antony, portraying him as a man who had abandoned his Roman heritage for a foreign queen and Eastern despotism. Antony's donation of Roman territories to Cleopatra and her children, the so-called Donations of Alexandria, was the final outrage for Rome. Octavian, sensing the shift in public opinion, seized Antony's will from the Temple of Vesta and read it to the Senate, revealing Antony's wish to be buried in Alexandria. This was the proof he needed. The Senate, outraged, declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra, cleverly framing the conflict as a foreign war rather than another civil war. The final showdown occurred in 31 BC at the naval battle of Actium. Octavian's fleet, commanded by his brilliant general Marcus Agrippa, outmaneuvered and destroyed the combined forces of Antony and Cleopatra. Seeing the battle was lost, Antony and Cleopatra fled back to Egypt, their navy and army surrendering to Octavian. Octavian pursued them to Alexandria, and with no hope of escape, Antony and Cleopatra took their own lives. At the age of 32, Octavian was the undisputed master of the Roman world. The civil wars that had plagued the Republic for a century were finally over. However, Octavian knew that the title of king or dictator was abhorrent to the Romans, a lesson learned from his great-uncle's fate. he needed to mask his absolute power behind the facade of the restored republic. In 27 BC, in a carefully staged political masterstroke, he appeared before the Senate and announced he was returning all his powers to them, ostensibly restoring the republic. In return, a grateful Senate, orchestrated by his allies, showered him with honors and new powers, begging him to remain at the helm of the state. They granted him the new name Augustus, meaning revered or illustrious, a name with semi-divine overtones that elevated him above all other citizens. He was also granted the authority of a proconsul over the most important provinces, where the bulk of the Roman legions was stationed, giving him command of the army. He held the power of a tribune, which allowed him to veto any act of the Senate and propose legislation directly to the people. Crucially, these powers were granted for long periods, or for life, making his control permanent in all but name. He referred to himself not as emperor or king, but as princeps civitatis, the first citizen among equals. This new political arrangement, where the institutions of the republic were preserved but ultimate power rested with one man, became known as the Principate. It was a monarchy disguised as a republic, a subtle revolution that ended centuries of republican rule without a dramatic overthrow. Augustus ushered in an unprecedented era of peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. For over 2 centuries, the Mediterranean world, united under Roman rule, was largely free from major wars. He professionalized the army, creating a standing force of 28 legions, loyal directly to him, ensuring internal stability and secure borders. He reformed the tax system, making it more equitable and efficient, which funded massive public works projects across the empire. Rome was transformed under his rule, as he famously boasted, "I found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble." He sponsored arts and literature, with poets like Virgil, Horace, and Ovid flourishing under his patronage, creating a golden age of Roman culture. He promoted legislation to encourage marriage and childbirth, attempting to restore traditional Roman family values. He established the Praetorian Guard, an elite unit of soldiers stationed in Rome, which served as his personal bodyguards and a potent symbol of his power. Despite his immense power, Augustus maintained the image of a modest and accessible leader throughout his long reign. He lived in a relatively simple house on the Palatine Hill, a stark contrast to the palaces of Eastern monarchs. His personal life, however, was marked by sorrow and difficulties in securing an heir. He outlived his chosen successors, his nephew Marcellus, his trusted General Agrippa, and his grandsons Gaius and Lucius Caesar. Ultimately, he was forced to adopt his stepson, Tiberius, a capable but gloomy general whom he did not particularly like, as his heir. Augustus died in 14 AD at the age of 75, having ruled for 41 years. His final words were reputedly, "Have I played the part well? Then applaud as I exit. Iene." His reign was a pivotal turning point in Roman and Western history. He had found Rome in a state of endemic civil war and chaos, its republican institutions broken. He left it with a stable government, lasting peace, and a system that would endure, in various forms, for nearly 1,500 years. Augustus Caesar was the man who single-handedly turned a dying republic into a flourishing empire, forever changing the course of history.